All right, so today we're looking at, well, it's Hommlet,
Okay.
and it's a really fascinating collection of reports, character profiles,
Hmm.
maps, like the whole shebang.
Wow.
And it really paints this picture of a village that is trying to find its footing.
Yeah.
It's caught between this rough past and what seems like a very uncertain future.
Yeah. And what's really stood out to me going through this material is this constant tension between ambition, like they're really trying to build something,
Right.
but also this awareness of the dangers that are all around them. It
Yeah.
feels very, very precarious,
Yeah.
this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't just like some sleepy little village that's,
Right.
just trying to like get by.
Yeah.
We're talking about a place that was pretty much ground zero
Hmm.
for that whole Temple of Elemental Evil mess.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Anyone,
Yeah.
In this world.
right. If you've rolled a 20-sided die, you know that story.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can tell it's still there, like under the surface
Yeah.
of everything.
Lingering.
And so you see these really interesting figures emerge, like Byrne and Rufus.
Right?
These are adventurers. Clearly, they've seen some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They've taken it upon themselves to basically fortify Hommlet. They even got royal funding for this Doomwatch keep they're building.
Wow.
That's not nothing. Like somebody important believes in their vision.
Okay, so you've got like these seasoned adventurers, they've got money, they're building a fortress,
Mhm.
but this is a world of like bandits, political
Yeah.
tension, not to mention like the shadow of this temple
Yep.
still kind of looming out there.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
that's a pretty tall order.
Yeah.
How do they think they can pull this off?
So that's where Byrne's Badgers come in.
Okay.
And this is what I find fascinating.
Okay.
These aren't just your run-of-the-mill mercenaries.
Right.
We're talking like former criminals, people who lived outside the lines.
Mm.
And Byrne and Rufus saw something in them, offered them a chance, a shot at redemption.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, that was one of the things that really caught my eye too, because you're talking about like genuine transformation.
Yeah.
Like these are hardened criminals turned into like this disciplined force
Hmm.
that says something about how Byrne and Rufus operate. It's
Yeah.
not just about like, laying down the law.
No.
It's about seeing potential where other people wouldn't even bother looking.
And it goes even deeper than that when you think about the kind of people Byrne and Rufus are.
Okay.
These are adventurers, right? They face down chaos.
Right.
They've stared into the abyss. They've come out the other side.
Right.
Order, discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't just like abstract concepts to them.
Right.
Those are survival traits, especially given the life they lived.
Which makes you wonder then, like, what kind of person thrives
Yeah.
under that kind of leadership? What is it that makes someone sign up and
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I want to follow these guys?
Right. It's got to be more than a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
There's something else going on there.
Yeah.
And the reports all mention this, like fierce loyalty.
Okay.
That's what makes them so effective. They're not just following orders. These badgers are devoted.
Okay.
And it makes sense when you think about it. They've been given a second chance,
Right.
a purpose, a chance to, be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's
powerful.
it is. It is. And that's got to play into it, right?
Absolutely.
This unwavering loyalty might seem excessive, but it makes sense when you consider what's at stake for Hommlet. This isn't just some backwater village, is it?
Not at all. Hommlet sits at a crucial crossroads, connecting trade routes from north to south, east to west. The reports mention caravans passing through from as far as Verbobonc and divers. That kind of traffic makes this seemingly insignificant village surprisingly important.
And where there's money changing hands, there's always someone lurking in the shadows, ready to take their cut. Sounds like a perfect breeding ground for banditry, if you ask me.
Precisely. And that's where Byrne and Rufus's strategy becomes so fascinating. They're not just protecting a village. They're safeguarding the flow of goods and wealth, a vital artery in the region. It makes sense that they caught the eye of those who stand to benefit the most, those with the deep pockets to fund something like Doomwatch Keep.
Royalty, no less. That's quite the endorsement for a couple of guys who used to make their living battling owl bears and disarming traps.
It speaks volumes about their reputation, wouldn't you say? They've gone from taking risks in dungeons to managing them on a grand scale, all for the sake of Hommlet's stability. But, this is where it gets interesting, there are cracks beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful village.
You're talking about the bandit activity, right? It's one thing to hear about it in general terms, but these reports get downright specific. Poor Virgil Taman, the brewer, gets his entire shipment of ale hijacked talk about a bad day. And then there are the attacks on travelers, just trying to make their way through. This isn't just petty theft. It feels like something more organized, more intentional.
Exactly. And that's where Jeru Ashstaff, the druid who follows the old faith, enters the picture with a healthy dose of skepticism. He sees the same reports we do, but he interprets them through a different lens, one shaped by his connection to the land and its history.
He's convinced there's a connection between this recent spike in banditry and the legacy of the Temple of Elemental Evil, isn't he? Even though it's just a pile of rubble now, he's worried about the roots that evil might have put down and what might be growing back.
He sees a pattern, a darkness emerging that goes beyond simple banditry. And honestly, can you blame him for being worried? The temple's evil cast a long shadow, and some wounds, well, they never truly heal, do they?
That's for sure. So the question becomes, are these bandits just opportunistic thugs, taking advantage of a village still finding its feet after the temple's fall? Or are they pawns in a much larger game, orchestrated by something ancient, something hungry?
It's a question that should be keeping everyone up at night. And it's made even more complex when you consider the power dynamics at play within Hommlet itself. You've got Elder Kintra Sr., the official leader, trying to hold on to the reins. But then you've got Byrne and Rufus, war heroes with royal backing and a vision for the future. And let's not forget the growing influence of St. Cuthbert's Church, led by the very devout and very ambitious Terjan.
Talk about a recipe for conflict. It's like a pot of stew simmering over a fire, with each ingredient adding its own flavor to the mix. But what happens when it boils over? Where do the Badgers stand when these factions inevitably clash?
That's the million gold piece question, isn't it? Their loyalty to Byrne and Rufus is unquestioned. But what about their loyalty to Hommlet itself?
You know?
Okay, so back up for a second. I'm looking at this Byrne's Badgers right now, and it says they've got this whole thing about discipline, the Badger emblem. You're telling me these guys, they used to be like the bad guys, like literally terrorizing the region.
Yeah, they were brigands.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Makes you wonder how you even start to change a group like that, right?
Seriously.
Seems like the answer's probably in these two guys, Lord Byrne and Lord Rufus.
So that's where the Byrne and Rufus come in.
Exactly.
One's a wizard, the other's a warrior. Sounds like a good buddy cop movie, huh? But how do those personalities actually work together, in the real world?
Well, you got to figure Byrne, he's this strategic one, right? Big picture kind of guy. He's probably already thinking about threats nobody else even sees coming. And then Rufus, he's all about action. So he's probably the one making sure those ex-brigands can actually, fight, actually handle themselves.
Makes sense. And honestly, that difference in how they lead, that might be exactly what a place like Hommlet needs, because this place is intense. It's not just like leftover problems from the Badger's past, right?
No, not even close. I mean, you've got the Temple of Elemental Evil right there, practically on their doorstep.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's going to make everyone nervous. And on top of that, it seems like everything's getting worse. Bandits everywhere, humans versus gnomes. It's like one big powder keg just waiting to blow.
And to make things even worse, like the real army, they've pulled back, right?
Yeah.
So now Hommlet's totally on its own.
Seems like it. Almost like someone or something wants Hommlet isolated. And that's what makes Byrne's Badgers so important. They're not just keeping the peace anymore. They're the only thing standing between Hommlet and Lovelet. Well, who knows what.
Okay, this is way more intense than I thought. But Byrne and Rufus have got their work cut out for them, even with their skills. They've got some, let's say, interesting people to deal with in town too, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And these personalities, they could either be the Badgers' biggest supporters or their worst enemies. Like, take Osler Dundegoot, for example. He runs the inn, the Welcome Wench.
Okay, got it. So this guy, he's got that whole friendly innkeeper thing going on, but there's something more to him.
Let's just say he's got some experience. Militia training, hidden rooms, secret supplies. Makes you wonder what he's really got tucked away and what he's truly ready for.
All right, now you've got me hooked. We've got ex-bad guys turned protectors, a village that's about to explode, and a seemingly normal innkeeper with a mysterious past. What else could we ask for?
How about a reclusive druid with cryptic warnings?
Ooh, this is where it gets good.
Oh.
Tell me everything.
Jero Ashstaff, he's one with nature, guardian of the old ways and all that. And he's convinced that these bandit raids, they're just the beginning. Something way worse is going on.
Okay, hold on. So that's 2 for 2, right? First, Gundegoot's got his secrets. Now Jeru's dropping these ominous warnings. These bandits are definitely not what they seem.
That's what it looks like. And just to make things even more interesting, there's Canon Terjan. This guy, he's a cleric. Very devout. Very driven.
All right, let's see. A real by-the-book kind of guy. And he is not happy with how Byrne and Rufus are handling things. Sounds like he'd rather just take care of things himself.
Let's just say he's not afraid to put his money where his mouth is. He's offering a reward to anyone who can deal with the bandits, in fact. 100 gold pieces.
Now that changes things. So now it's not just the Badgers trying to protect Hommlet. Anyone can jump in, especially if they're motivated by gold.
Yeah, that's a lot of gold. But the real question is, what's that going to do to everything else going on? Will it help the Badgers or just make things even crazier?
Yeah. Imagine if someone tries to, be a hero and it blows up in their face.
Yeah.
Hommlet's got to be on edge as it is, right?
No kidding. And speaking of unpredictable, we didn't even talk about how Byrne and Rufus are actually getting the Badgers ready for all this. I mean, catapults and scorpion operators, that's kind of surprising, don't you think? That's not exactly standard bandit fighting gear.
Right. It's like they're expecting a full-on war,
Yeah.
not just some bandits causing trouble. Maybe they know something we don't about these guys.
Maybe. Things sure are escalating fast. But remember that abandoned moat house east of town? Mentions it. I bet that place is just begging to become some villain's hideout. And if I were Byrne and Rufus, I'd want some serious firepower if I had to clear that place out.
Okay, so, hold on, let's get this straight. We've got bandits going wild, cryptic warnings from a druid who seems to know things, a cleric who's basically offering a bounty, and now Byrne and Rufus are gearing up for a siege. Hommlet's starting to sound less like a village and more like a battlefield.
And don't forget about the whole human gnome thing. Makes it sound like they're one wrong word away from all-out war with each other.
Whoa, okay, so, what's the deal with that? Everything's got to have a history, right? What's the root of all this tension between the humans and gnomes?
It's actually pretty interesting. The gnomes, they were in that area long before the humans showed up. Got driven out by some disaster, no one knows the details. That kind of thing can really stick with people, generations even.
Ah, so it's not just about who makes the best ale then. This is deep-rooted stuff.
Exactly. Now imagine those bandits, maybe they're using that tension, stirring the pot to cause chaos and get what they want. It wouldn't be the first time someone's exploited a little local drama for their own game.
Oh man, now we're talking conspiracies and hidden agendas. Every time we think we know what's going on in Hommlet, it gets even wilder.
That's what makes it fun, right? It's like this whole tapestry of ambition, fear, desperation. And the best part is any one of these characters could change everything. Even you, listening right now.
Because remember, this isn't just a story. You could grab that 100 gold yourself. But like we've been saying, there's something way bigger going down in Hommlet than just some quick cash. It's like, do you play it safe and just ignore all the weird stuff? Or do you chase the mystery, even if it means things could get really bad?
And that's where Byrne and Rufus, their leadership, it's going to be really important. Think about it. You're Byrne, right?
Yeah.
You see all this going down, you'd be thinking about defenses, walls, the long game. But then there's Rufus, ready to jump into the action. How did those two even work together when you've got enemies you can't even see?
That's a good point. It's like trying to make a cake where half the ingredients are for chocolate and half are for vanilla. How do you...
Right. And then you've got Giroux. He's the one who seems to get it, he can see the connections. But is he actually going to tell anyone? Or just let everything happen?
See, that's what I want to know. Is he going to be the guy giving cryptic advice? Or just watch everything burn?
Those are the questions that keep me up at night, I'll tell you that. And whatever the answer is, it's probably going to decide what happens to the Badgers, maybe even all of Hommlet.
What does this all mean for you, dear listener? You're not just hearing about this, you're right in the thick of it. 100 gold is on the line, sure. But we've learned that Hommlet, well, it's more than just a quick payday. It's a whole situation.
It's a chance to really make a difference, though.
It's not about finding all the answers. It's about grappling with the mystery, with the unknown, and asking ourselves, what would we do?
That's a good point to end on, I think. A lot to think about. Until next time.